What I'm going to do is just take this small dry brush, make a quick gray. And I'm going to kind of just dry brush these big shapes so we can kind of see them pop out a little bit. See that? I'm going to put more white on the brush. So right now it's just rattle can with basic as black primer. And I'm just coaxing out some definition and these big ass tiles so we can appreciate it. Now I'm not going to do it black. We're definitely going to incorporate a color here. But you see how, like, you could honestly buy these bases from Elric's Hobbies and paint them black and dry brush them gray like that in 2 seconds, and you actually could get a pretty sick base. We'll take a little... Let me see here. Let's get a little mahogany. Fuck it. Mahogany's so good. Some mahogany and some black. And just to show you what I mean, it's like, now I could just kind of bring some of that in here. Brown this section up. Straight over black primer. And now you can kind of see the frame of this model. So now I'm obviously going to do something sexy on that tile. I just don't know what I'm going to do. So right now, what we have is two predominant colors, red department, blue department. Okay, black, very strong, right? We've got accents of ochres and yellows. So we've got a lot of warmth coming through the center of the model, being framed by real strong black. Very subtle, cool highlights, and a very cool sword, which is, pow! It's an accessorizer. So we want to avoid any green, I think, on the base. Just so we can avoid like the Christmas correlation. KS Kev, cool marble. I thought about doing them as marble. Like, I guess that they would be like cut marble tiles with grout, I guess would be what we're saying if we do marble. Or Pride, 67 months. What a legend. So marbles, we could do marble, but I actually want to do something extreme. I want to do more of an extreme blend. Now that I look at it though, how sick would it be if they were white, but cream, like a cream white, Chaos Kev? Because in my mind, like I know burgundies and stuff, which we used, they look sick with creamy whites. And the white would be a total contrast to the black. You know what I'm saying? Cascav, you vibing me? You vibing me on that? So with a creamy white, what I like is I like to get some ivory laid out. Some white, obviously. And then the way we're going to cream it up is with yellow. Okay? So we use a little yellow, transparent yellow right here. And we'll steal that as we need it. And we'll just use the mahogany already here to make it a little darker. So, chaotic painting, you vibing that too? So, let's play around with the. Here's a dark brown. We've yellowed it up. We're now whitening it up, and we're imagining this is like its deepest shadows. Okay. Probably something a little bit closer to this. Okay. So I'm just gonna paint them, and we're saying that this is essentially the darkest part of the white. Is this? So it's like a really pale yellow right now, like almost a pale ochre. And we are painting it on pretty loose, pretty thin. It's not even remotely opaque. It's a little wet for easy spread, and it's gonna stick to the gray pretty easily. And gray has great stick. And because we're not painting it opaque, the gray will inform this cream and desaturate it slightly. Since it's like a little window you can look through. Okay, that's our starting position. I don't know what this is. Is this more of it? I guess it is. All right, so we're gonna go very white with it though. So let that dry for 1 second. Rock Star Panda, thank you. Turquoise Jade Tom Duster, it's a go-to, dog. Don't get it twisted, Tom Duster. That's one of my favorite combos of all time. But turquoise, too close to our cyan spectrum. Jade, too close to green. And we also utilize that in the gem department, almost that exact formula. So I'm looking for something new that also provides contrast. So and as it's drying, you see how the gray is starting to show through, and it's not nearly as intense. That's what we want. So I'm gonna let it dry. I'm gonna get it full dry on this real quick before we do anything, because I want to also have access to some more traditional glazing and stuff. While it's drying, what I'll do is I'll take some of the ivory, put it into the brown, and do a light dry brush right here. And it's a little sloppy, wet, kind of a wet dry brush, like a muddy dry brush. We'll let that relax. Take some white. So there's some ambient brown on the brush still. And I dried it up a lot more. There's a skull here. And we'll take it up nice and bright like that so we can wash it later. Since I'm looking at this skull, what I'll do is take some of this ivory, some of this black, and I'll paint them like a gray ivory, basically. It's funny because in the Elric's Hobbies, the older bases, sometimes you get air bubbles inside this eye socket of a skull. And I used to try to pop those out, and now I just leave them as like an errant, fucked up eyeball. Like, here's a little bit more white while it's still wet. Kind of here on the top. And we'll come back to that skull later. All right. Oh, yeah. Jack loves painting in chat. You on the airplane? You're at the airport? How you feeling about this right here? Fucking beast. Oh, you already made it to the hotel? Bro, psh, you're already in my state, son. Let's get some love for Wyatt. Exclamation point road. I'll be on the road after this show. Probably won't leave till 7 because traffic is no point. Alright, so here's where we started. Can I just paint your stuff too? If you mailed me your stuff. Templar. Oh, you mean like your whole army? No. Let me get some strong man love in the chat for my boy Templar dropping that beast mode multiplier. 23 bonus, yo, Deezies. Wyatt, he wants me to paint his Dark Angels now. Okay, this is where we started, guys. Let's introduce more ivory to this now. So we'll get this creamy ivory. And we're going to do a little wet glazing, okay? So what I want is a nice extreme wet right here. Let's pluck a little of the brown and yellow out right here. And let's just stipple it right in here while it's wet. Get a nice burnt shadow right there. Let's rinse the brush, get all that off. Let's pluck up a little pure white while it's still wet. And let's just stipple right in here. And we're just going to let that start to dominate the midfield. And it's okay if it's a little cloudy. It's not even opaque. You'll see when it dries. It's going to take a lot of information from what's already there, which is already being informed by gray, as you can see. We'll let that chillax. Maybe a little bit more right here. Let that settle down. Rinse. Gonna mail you some nights, lol. Cash on that affirmation. Cash in on that affirmation. Oh no. I fucked up. Alright, let's try right here. Let's get a coat right here. Let's get some of that darkening right here. Okay, let's rinse it. Pick up a little ivory white. Let's just battle into the midfield. Some stippling using the moisture to blur, get that capillary swirling going. Be a touch more yellow to maintain the creaminess. Right there. Let's rinse it. Pick up a little bit more white. Light brush pressure. There we go. Let that relax. Okay, so we're using yellow and ivory with a little brown notes in it right here. Some white. It's kind of our starting position. A little bit of water. Just go right here. Pick up some ivory white. Rinse it. A little bit more white. A little bit more white. Rinse it. Pick up some of the brown right here. There we go. Let that relax. We'll come back to it. Rinse it. Pick up this. And this is this wet glazing technique. We call it wet, I'm calling it wet glazing because we're very wet and very transparent. With a traditional wet blend, you want to be a lot more opaque than this. Let's bring in the ivory white combination right here. And you're probably not even going to be able to see these tiles. But this wet glazing technique requires that you already have something laid out. And we already laid out that first pass. Here's some of the brown. Gonna walk up against it right here in the midfield. Rinse it. Wyatt, that room is the barest definition of accessible. Ooh, is it like your house? Is it like your apartment? I mean, as far as bathroom, I guess. I know I've seen how big your living space actually is. Let's just stipple in right here. We're gonna move furniture. Got it. Too easy. Turns out I moved furniture part-time as a part-time job here at my house. You see, it's all settling down now. And you see, we're not living in fear of any cloudiness. All right, we're down for that. Down to cloud. Okay. Now that's settling down. Okay. And we're going to go in for another round. But what I'll do while it's settling is I'll take some of the coal black. And I'll come into these channels. I might even take some transparent black out for this. Transparent black with coal black. And we're going to definitely deploy some nice dark frames. I'm going to do this now while I'm letting stuff dry. Using the tip of the brush, doing some just quick heart pulls and stipples. Rotate the model to facilitate the minimalistic brush moving. See, like I don't want to move too far to my zone here. So instead I'll rotate in maintenance of my accuracy. sharpen the image as much as we can. It looks like this little piece right here needs to get painted. And possibly this. Staying busy in the Beats lab. Okay, that's tight. And now what we can do is go even further, okay? But this is kind of a really nice color right now. All right, let's get a little ivory out here. Watering it down pretty substantially. Take some of the moisture off of my brush. Low opacity and low moisture. And I'm going to glaze the whole tile with like a 2% opaque passive ivory. So this is applying a new filter. It's a pretty low power filter. But it's going to take us closer to white and settle down some of that brown and yellow. And I'll do any type of distortion on these tiles. I'll do once the model's on there. You know? I'm going to put a little white into the ivory mix that we created. Again, low opacity, low moisture, using my paper towel. And I'm going to do another pass of this filter. Oh no, Wyatt. The room isn't going to work. You just said it was fine 2 seconds ago. Like you can't even maneuver in the room at all? Oh, the bathroom. Yikes. It's a hearing accessible room. Oh my god. Has like all the buttons and stuff like that. Alright, I'm going to grab some white and some ivory while White gets that shit handled. That's obnoxious. Alright guys, a little bit more opacity here. And we're going to use the heart pull strategy here, and we're just going to bring a nice clean frame. Why, haven't we stayed at this hotel before? So they must have the right rooms. So now we're just going to put some nice finishing touches on some of these seams. There we go. Oh, you think we stayed at the other Hilton? Yeah. There we go. That kind of pisses me off. It's just people not doing the job right. That makes sense, Wyatt. Alright, so I feel like now what we're going to do is, before I go hard on anything on this base, like any like fine tuning, I want to get him on the base. Okay, so then that way I don't have to paint things that don't need to get painted. Recoil in chat, the legend. What's up, brother? So real quick, let me just pop this blue tack off this base. Come on, buddy. Okay. Move the wet palette so I don't drop guys in paint. Move this. So I'm just going to gently flex the base like that. And kind of just break the super glue bond. I imagine he's going to come off here soon. There it is. So now we can kind of dry fit him. Feeling probably this angle right here. It's going to lift one of his feet up, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to do something about that. It's going to lift either his front foot or his back foot up. So I'll lift his back foot up and then I'll seal that. Now, first things first, let me just I'll grab my Dremel tool, and I'm just gonna clean the bottom of his feet off real quick. Tight. Now I definitely moved the base. And there it is. I'm gonna double check my fitting. Back foot up. Okay, I see where I'm gonna go. So, firmly planted on tile here, a little bit off the base back here, you can see. It's pretty substantial, but that's okay, because what I'll do is I will backfill this heel with some debris. You know, like that's what cork is good for, things like that. So when you have a dynamic base like this and it's hard to find your plane, don't worry about it so much. Just get them on there, and then we'll backfill. And I'll probably just use some Elric's rubble. There we go. I'll use that for my backfill. And what I'll do is find a few pieces that will slide up right under his heel there. Will that go? No. I think I see the one I want. Will that go? Yeah, look at that, baby. What I'll do is I'll put a little glue down on the right here on this base. Slide that back in. See if I can find an even smaller piece. Right here for the front. So now his foot is being supported by rocks. Perfectly fine now. I'm using a sack of resin rubble from Elric's Hobbies. You buy one bag of these every 10 years. And so now we can make some real decisions about what we're going to do with these tiles and what we're going to do with the grout in between and how we're going to beat them up and maybe chip them up. Now that he's on here and he's obscuring an X percentage of the base, we don't have to go and pretend to paint things that are going to be visible or not. Okay, so we'll let all that glue settle. We'll do a whip session while it's drying up. Exclamation point whip. Join the Discord server, guys. It is the month ender, exclamation point ender today. We've got some fun stuff on the line for the Top D Grand Prix. Last chance to earn Yo Dogs, and it is Beast Mode Friday. I'm warming up some tack right now. Just heating it up. So we can come back to this guy after we do our whip session. I like that contrast. We just need to scratch these tiles up a little bit, scuff them up, get this base sorted out, the rim sorted out. Which I can probably do right now since we're going to be letting stuff dry here in a second. Let's just get one more thing set to dry. Here's some coal black. And some transparent black. I switched out to this shitty brush because in case I graze any super glue, I don't want to hurt my number 4 pro synthetic brush. Now you see we've got like this other rise to the rocks of the grout that we're going to have to paint by hand as well, make those pretty. So it's not all shit from the front viewing angle. For example, here's some white and the black together. We're going to have to paint this stuff because that's still like the grout seal. We're going to have to actually show it some love. I'm just kind of basing it back to a nice gray. And then we'll throw some love in there and kind of integrate the tops of the tiles to it. After the break, exclamation point whip. Let's work on these tiles real quick. So let's take out some of the white. And let's see if we can begin crisping up some of these lines even further. So that's mostly opaque. There's a little moisture in there. I'm using the tip of my brush and mostly staying in the heart pull position. But on the base, I'm typically always authorizing myself to be a little sloppier on this kind of structure. So the paint being a little moist will sometimes sacrifice your control, and I'm okay with that on this particular real estate. And we're just crisping up some lines here. Sharpening some points. Pretty much using pure white. As you can see. Nice creamy ivory off-white work up there. Now, I'm also going to do some distortion in there. So probably what I'll do is some stippling. Like that. And I'm keeping it kind of hardcore right now. It's like very wet and opaque. And so it's going to be a little bit more visible than normal when I'm doing for this type of technique. But you'll see why. And I'm stippling it kind of off the areas that I have decided are brighter anyway. What I will do is I will now introduce some moisture to the mix and lower the opacity. And I'll do a second round of distortion, but with less opacity. As you can see. Who that? Rottweiler. You know, I thought Rottweiler would like this because he's working on Iron Hands. And a lot of these colors are something he's probably looking at for his Iron Hands workup. Looks gangster as fuck. Thank you, brother. 2x multiplier for my boy Rottweiler's 46 bonus. Yo, DZs. You see, we're just doing some light stippling here. And if I turn the light down even further, you can see it better. Using a less opaque version of white now. More moisture in the composition. And I'm kind of letting these things just be somewhat erratic. But I am putting more of a density toward the front and letting it kind of comet trail away. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring some depth to those with an effect. And so we'll take some of the original brown we were using. Some of the yellow, just to stay in the same spectrum. And this is definitely darker than white. And we're gonna pick out some of those stipples. Yo, Chaos Kev. For Christmas in Germany, he says. My man, thank you. Can I get some strong man love for Chaos Kev, the true legend? 230 bonus, yo dogs. This is a 10x multiplier coming in on this month ender. Kenny, you have no blues in this at all? Rottweiler, there's blue embedded in the edge highlighting on the black. Right? So it was black, white with blue. So all that edge highlighting is cool. It's just not overtly blue. So it's a cool gray. So there is a coolness occurring on the edges of things. And then, like you see, this gray is totally neutral on these, and then the sword is this super righteous cyan. Chaos Kev. So I'm going to take this darker composition here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick out some of our stipples, and we're going to try to sewing machine stroke right on top of them. And now, instead of being random, we're being deliberate. And so what I'm doing is I'm erasing some of the excessive brightness of the stipple and deploying a top shadow composed of the natural darker value present on this mini. And what we're doing is creating that top shelf pitting effect where we have a little lip catching light so that these stipples suddenly are becoming textures in the base, as you can see. So now we've got a little bit of 2D paint job trying to help us with creating the illusion of three-dimensionality. And so we're saying the bottom is this way, so we got to put the shadow on the top, which is that way. Recoil coming in with a 3x multiplier, 69 bonus yo dogs for recoil. So now, instead of being random, we are aiming at the stipples, but toward the top, as I said. And so what I'll do is, again, I'll take a less opaque version of our shadow. And I'll move in to that back real estate. Send some of this in. So now we've got some pitting on those tiles. So they're not just perfect little clean pieces of stone. Now, if you want to put a scratch or two in, similar protocol, right? Let's take the white, and we're going to make a tight little heart pull right here. And that's not fully opaque white. It's pretty faint. Right there, a couple scratches. You can start to see them. Right there. And again, this is another effect based on the edge highlighting strategies. So we're going to go in with a little bit less moisture here for control. And we're going to, again, top of line. We're going to embed the shadow. And the instinct is to invert it. You got to fight your instinct here. And now suddenly you have the image of literally embedded scratches. Scratch, scratch. In the tile work. And I might do a couple this way. Using the heart pull again. Pick up our shadow. And just carefully nurture little top shadow right there. Beautiful. Now, in the black grout, we want to figure out what we're going to do in there. So maybe I'll cool it up a little bit with some blues and get some blacks involved. So there's like a blue-black, which we'll inject a little of the white to make it officially gray. More black to get darker. Maybe like right here, what we'll do is mess with this stone composition right here. You see we've got this lip right there. I'll put some more black back in. I'm just using some really simple heart pulls to get this to blend. And we'll go back, introduce more white. And just very carefully pull out some of these sections like this. So when you have a base that just cuts off like this, you can still work with this lip and really enhance the model. You see? Shout out to Refined Devil. Am I seeing that right? Nice name. I like that. And it's really just, you know, a blue gray we made right over black. And what I'll do is I'll probably put a little bit of that in the grout work now. Very carefully. So we've got this excessively bright position, and if I'm careful, I should be able to just kind of run a little seam inside of it like that. It's going to be hard to see at first. I'm using the heart pull. There we go. Just gotta connect them all. Yo, dog, nice to be here. Refined Devil. So what I'll do is I'll introduce a little bit more white to that. And kind of cheat it to be a little brighter here in the middle of the nexus. Right there. Where they all kind of converge at that crossroad. Right there. We'll take this same brightness, carefully apply it to this lip right here using combination heart pull and tracer technique. Nice. So this rock right here, that's kind of jetting up. Let's officially decide that it's the same as that kind of obsidian grout. Because it got dry brushed with a little brown and neutrals, or brown and gray. So we're just going to make sure that that's a part of this same structure. This rock too. See that? Right there. And now there's a couple of rocks here that are still made of resin. Remember, that's how we gap filled. So I'm just going to lay on some thick paint right over that raw resin. Just some black and blue. Same mix. I'm putting it on pretty raw. That's how we made sure that his back heel wasn't just floating off the base. Get a little white in the mix. Shout out right there, Enrico Ventrilio. A little bit more highlight right here. That's too much. Not enough blue left in that. Because we are cheating some blue into this. All right. Warg says, "Hey Kenny, what's the OG Mike Caswell to lately? Would love to hear him back on the podcast. He's finished. He's in Egypt, dog. He's fucking touring Egypt right now, homie." Okay, so I'm vibing this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some water, some transparent black right here, lower the opacity. Take some of the moisture off the brush, and I'm going to filter down my inner highlight there to be a little bit more subtle as it makes its journey toward the nexus in the center and gets brighter. See how I just subdued it? Yo, Recoil says hello from mom, exclamation point. Do I have one of that? Exclamation point, mom? Tell your mama say hey. Recoil's a true American hero. 3x multiplier, 69 bonus. Yo, DZ's from Recoil. Thank you, dog. Recoil. I'm going to take some transparent black, and I'm going to very carefully try to get a border of black between the tile and that obsidian. Right there, just to pop that lip out more. We're trying to just separate those two features. Recoil, thank you. Now, let's address some of the dirt. Chaotic painting. Yo, let me get some love in the chat for chaotic painting. One of my students right here says that model's looking sick, bro. Thank you, man. Feeling good about the base choice. I like that. Interesting, like, tile work. Now, I want this to be a little bit more brown, chaotic painting Recoil. Like, I want to remove it from the spectrum that it's in right now. So something a little bit more vibrant, perhaps. I think maybe orange. No. Really step up my brown game on this base is what I'm saying. Maybe I could just do it with a hat. Maybe I could just see. Let me get a little yellow, a brown, a little ivory. A white. What would happen if I just went silly with it like that? I'm drying it up a little bit. And I'm just gonna see what happens if I just gently introduce this hue in pockets on the base to make it not so monochromatic. Yo, someone's going nuts. Yo, we're getting the redemption train right now. Okay, so I am going to take some lava orange. It's kind of... I didn't shake it good enough, but that's fine. I'm going to take some lava orange. And again, I'm going to take that moisture off the brush. And I'm going to brush some of that in to my brown. And again, I'm trying to break up the monochromatic browns I have in it right now. Because right now it's literally just mahogany, black and white. Very simple. But now what I've done is I've given it a couple more hues to play with. Okay? And I've also discovered a rock back here that I want to paint. Not brown. That same kind of black gray. Black, blue, gray. Right there. There's no wash on this yet. It could definitely use maybe an oil wash on the brown back here. Now what I'm going to do is put a little transparent red down. Talus UK, what's up, brother? Kelski, Sin for Games, a little transparent red. Remember I mentioned that sometimes the skulls on Elric's Hobbies bases have air bubbles in the eyes? And there's one right there. We'll take a little transparent red. Thin it down. And put it in the eye socket. I'm just like, yo, it's an eyeball. Okay. That's it. I don't even pop them out anymore. I'm going to take some white and stipple some rough texture into the skull. Like that. It's kind of a low detail skull anyway, so we're just going to pull out some of those details ourselves. Okay, now let's clean up right here. Some of this white into some of our blue-gray. Put a nice clean edge right there on that piece of that rock jutting up. Right there on that rock. Just going to kind of graze the top textures of these right here with some stippling. Here. Yeah, that's sick. That base is crisp, son. You know what I could use? Check this out. So I just put some distortion there. I'll take the transparent black. Some coal black. And I will do the top shadow now. And we're going to do the three-dimensionality here. Some stippling right there. Heart pull. Stipple. Look at that. 3D texture effect. Pow, son. So we basically took that lip, that cutoff, and we made it like such an intriguing part of the model. All right. Close this palette up. I'm gonna get a little dust out here, some pigment. Where's my shadow edge pigment? Where's my gray? I'm always struggling to find this particular container of pigment. Ah, found it. Okay, where's my... Looking for one of my pigment brushes. I know I have a smaller one. I want these huge ones. Oh my god. That'll work. That'll work. I'm gonna put a fresh paper down so I can capture any powder. So this is like just a gray dust one, and I love this one. Okay, so I'm going to use this, and the cool thing about this is that it's pretty forgiving as a pigment, and you can go on dry and kind of gangster. And it'll forgive you for being hand-fisted. See that? And we're just going to link the dirt of the base to the actual feet of the model. With this subtle dust color. I'm also going to hide any lack of detail I painted on like his inner legs here. Oh my god, I just realized I completely forgot to paint the back of his fucking nut curtain. Oh my god. Little on his boots right here. A little bit on our tiles. Let it get in places. Let it have its impact. Be a little bit on the bottom of the cape even. Right there. There we go. Nice little subtle after effect. Now, unfortunately, I just realized I gotta finish this cape. So let's grab some, get rid of this pigment. So I did this. Get rid of that dust. Get back to our palette. Got 22 minutes left, so we can do it. Let's get some, pretty sure I used the burgundy. Black and brown, I imagine. So look what I fucked up on right there. Never painted that. So let's get some brown, black, and red together. And carefully paint this really dark. This is black, brown, and burgundy. Okay, so we're gonna do a pretty low opacity base coat of this, and while being very careful. It's gonna take a lot of black value information from the cape as it already is. I'm using the heart pool. I'm moving the model around so I don't get it on the fucking armor. You see, I didn't even notice it because it just got lost in all that action back there. Okay, so black, brown, this red. So more of this red. So black and brown. And we're going to do it again. We're just going to drag it right into the seams of things, like the top folds. And we're not really doing, it looks like we're getting a blend, but what we're really doing is just progressively working with our paints respectfully and adding more and more of the red, which just happens to be the thing that is brighter than black and brown right now. Okay? So now we've got a good frame established. And it's in the shadows of his crotch there, so you don't need to go, it doesn't need to be like this one on the front. Okay? But I will take more of the burgundy. Take the smaller brush. And I'm having to do a heart flick where I'm flicking away from my heart, which is always trickier to be in control of, so you just have to be aware that it's higher risk and just put more effort forth. And now I'm focusing on the furrows of the cloak a lot more here. Like I'm trying not to let it get inside the recess. I'm trying to let it stay on top of things, you see? And we haven't let it dry yet, so we're getting free blurring from the moisture. But we're kind of at the limit now. You want to let it dry for just a quick second. See, now we've got some definition back there. You can see the folds. I had the light really blown out too. So you see it's very dark still. But I can work with that. Because what we want to do from there is maybe get a little bold pyro red. There's our burgundy and our bold pyro. Probably get a little bit of these mixed together. And let's see if we can carefully drag some of this respectful highlight into the bottoms here. Using our heart pull strategy and our respect concept. That one sucked. I'm going to go back in time. So I went back to the darker puddle to just kind of work out that line. Let's go back a little darker even. Maybe a little bit more of the brown. Gotta soften that up. All right. So now we're off to the races. So we'll let that cake dry for a second because it's a little wet to do the final clean edges on. But there's our Elric's Hobbies like parade ground base, I believe. Got some pigment powder on the base, linking the dirt to the feet. Got some really fun shaped tiles. We beat them up. We went with a cream off-white. Black, kind of a black-blue obsidian, kind of crispy rock formation in there. And we realized that we completely forgot to paint that interior nut curtain. Got the sword done. I mean, he's been a fun-ass project. The Heresy miniatures are pretty easy to paint. I mean, the guy is a straight baller. Really proud of this. But it's also easy, man. Heresy Labs does a good job with depth, like how sharp edges are, how deep furrows go. Keeps it real chunky, but still badass posing, really fucking menacing aesthetics. All right, here's our reds again. So let's grab a little. Let's see if we can steal a little white to the mix. And let's see if we can just carefully get a couple of really crisp lines down here. Using the heart pull. High opacity, low moisture. That's good enough for me, man. We don't need to take it to the same place it is here. Here, sun is shining down on it. Here, it's lost in his nether regions. It's in the taint. But we have the definition in there. Thank goodness. Now, thinking it still would be kind of tight to put a bit of an oil down. So let's look at stained brown or ground brown. I'm gonna use ground brown. I like ground brown for this. Because I still want to brown up and get darker in the dark areas, and this ground brown does that really well. Shake it up real good. One second. My phone just went off. Texan Bonet. All right, so let's Let's run into my little oil brush drawer. Let me get my solvent. So I've got a little solvent here. I've got the ground brown. What I want to do is I'll just reach in here. And this is just a brush I got super glue on once, so that's why I'm using it. You see, even with this little brush, look how far it goes. I'm going to take some odorless spirits now. Soften it in some areas. It's going to put a brown filter over everything. Kind of aiming it. I'll let some of it, really low filter version of it, get on the skull. But this will also get inside the recesses of the rocks and give us a little bit more contrast in the rock department, while also lending us a new filter, which I like. And I'll put that right over pigment. I do it all the time. And then I'll put pigment back over on top of it later if I have to. So oil, pigment, everything. Mo's Magic. I know it is the month ender stuff today, but are you streaming tomorrow? I'm not. No, I'll be in Irvine. We're playing the California team tournament this weekend, brother. There we go. About 10 minutes left in the show, and I think we did it. We took almost every second of the show to get it on there, though. Project complete right there.